How's it going, hodlers? It's a green day. It's another green day in Bitcoin world. Let's go ahead and talk about exactly where Bitcoin's going to go, where the crypto market is going to go, because obviously we're talking a lot about Bitcoin, and I get it. We're not talking a lot about the altcoins, but the focus really here is on Bitcoin until Bitcoin is healthy enough. And usually once Bitcoin runs, most altcoins run right after. But before we get into it, go ahead and give me a like. It really helps to share these videos out. So if you want to support the channel, please, engagement just helps. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first bit of news before we get into the charts is Bitcoin indicators point to a possible inevitable break above 40K resistance. Now I'm going to be giving both the bear case and the bull case for what's about to happen with Bitcoin. So just be ready for that. This might be a little bit of a roller coaster, but this article indicates that we are moving to a point where Bitcoin is lessening from the exchanges. So more Bitcoin is going into wallets and there's less Bitcoin available and there's more demand, more people buying Bitcoin right now, which right now I could admit that there is a big frenzy. Now we could have seen this frenzy mainly because we bumped up above the 50-week moving average. And it does show the chart here. So we'll take a look at that. This was tweeted by CryptoQuant. It's a sign that will break 40K inevitable. So this is where they got their title. But the chart is extremely bullish on exactly what's happening. So Bitcoin is leaving exchanges once again, getting down to those really low levels. So the supply and demand is going to change. And we clearly see this by the Bitcoin exchange outflow chart here as well. So obviously we could be spiking up into some higher prices. Of course, we've talked about exactly where I think we're going to need to get to. In addition to the news, Senator Warren has actually come out and advocated for some sort of regulations within cryptocurrency. Of course, there are some mentions of, it could help the unbanked, but I found this very interesting. So Anthony Pompliano has tweeted this out. I feel like he missed the point, but it's fine. She is comparing Bitcoin regulations to something like the FDA regulating medicine. So I do think that, we do need a regulatory body that's not asleep at the wheel, because you see what's happening right now with crypto scams, pump and dumps. You see all these celebrities like pumping and dumping. If you guys haven't watched any of CoffeeZilla, I've been like on a tirade with CoffeeZilla crypto videos. They're crazy how people will literally rug pull on some of these coins. You really got to be careful in this space. So I kind of agree with some sort of regulatory body that's not the SEC or the FCC, because I think both of them are really inadequate and not doing anything at all. But I'd like to see maybe cryptocurrency getting its own regulatory body that isn't hurting the system, which is kind of hard because government always seems to screw things up, don't they? So let's talk about Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is currently at 40,240. We've been bouncing around this range basically all day. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days right now in the green. Now, of course, we have 4 hours left on today, so who knows if we're going to close on the green, but we have at least 8 days on the green. Now, let's talk about the bear and bull case of what Bitcoin's going to do next. So, of course, people are saying we can shatter through this 42,000 mark, pump above of it, and then get back onto the bull run. Now, people are also saying, because of the stock to flow ratio, the stock to flow model, that we could potentially see that 100K Bitcoin over in September. So roughly here. I'm not saying that that's completely out of the question. Okay. I'm not saying that, that can't happen. But I am saying that that's fairly unlikely just because of where we are. And where we expect to go. Now, the thing to remember here is that we are pushing up on a good amount of resistance that is going to be coming up here. One big thing is if you look at the bull market support band on the weekly chart, we can see that we smashed through the 21-week EMA, but we're still coming up to the 20-week SMA. So, of course, that's going to be a point of resistance to pass over. And, of course, we have that $42,000 mark that we've discussed before that's held as a line of support. So there is a chance that we go up there, we test the 20-week, and then we get pushed down below. But there are a couple of bull cases, one being that we did bounce off of the 50-week moving average. And we bounced off of it with a lot of force because at this point, this is a huge increase for Bitcoin to take on in such a short amount of time. Now, personally, what I think is going to happen is we'll get up to the 20-week SMA, so the top of the bull market support band. I think we'll flirt around with it, maybe be pushed down a little bit, but over time, we should be able to break above it. Now, I don't know if we're going to see many dips. Now, we could see a retracement, of course, because we've gone up a lot, approximately 40% since the pump started. So we could absolutely see retracements from here. But I think any retracements that we do see will just be par for the course, normal retracements that we would expect. But I do think that Bitcoin will still struggle before it gets up to the 52,000 mark and up a little bit further until it's really lifted off the bull market support band. You can kind of see that here when it went below the bull market support band and then came back up. It's really going to struggle with that line until finally it can separate and go further. And I do believe that the market cycle is going to go much longer still. I don't think much has changed. Now, this was a couple of months basically that we've been in this channel. So obviously this has all happened a little bit quicker than I thought it was going to happen. But still, I reserve the right to remain bearish until we've broken the 42,000 mark for Bitcoin with some sort of confidence. So just because I want to show both sides of the argument here, even though I don't completely agree, this is the stock to flow chart. So it's estimating that Bitcoin is going to hit roughly 100K by September. By the end of August into September is when we're going to hit 100K. So that's a lot. That's still a lot. That's about 70K that Bitcoin has to make up. And I don't completely agree with this. Now, I think the stock to flow ratio is kind of flawed. A lot of people talk about the market cycles as if they're 4-year market cycles. But when you look at the actual market cycles and what they look like, they don't clearly define a path. I mean, yeah, we have the double peak here, so maybe you can call this a 4-year cycle, and then this a 4-year cycle, and then this considerably shorter cycle. But again, that's basically saying that the halvening is going to be the biggest part of the market cycle. And realistically, if the halvening is the driver of the market cycle, that's pretty predictable. Basically, the stock to flow is all driven by the halvening, how much is being able to mine, how much enters, and how much exits. So that's the perception that the halvening is going to drive the market cycles completely every time, which is why people think that we're going to deal with 4-year market cycles because of how often the halvening happens. But again, I don't think the halvening is going to be that big of a driver. And again, once Bitcoin is fully mined, in the future, obviously we'll be dead. But once Bitcoin is fully mined at that point, then what's it going to follow, right? It's most likely just going to be an asset class similar to gold, just running on its own free will and reacting to what's happening in the economy. But I guess that's long term. And if you're long term bullish on Bitcoin, none of this really should matter. But at the end of the day, I'm sure everyone is happy to see Bitcoin at $40,000. That's it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please like the video if you want to help support the channel. Subscribe for more crypto news and content. And of course, and as always, happy hodling.